The galaxy was on the brink of disaster. Alien fleets, once powerful and proud, were now scattered across the stars, broken and leaderless. Their cities were in ruins, their fleets decimated by a mysterious, unstoppable force. Everywhere you looked, the signs of impending doom were clear. The once great alien empires had failed, and no one knew how to stop the tide of destruction. Their forces, stretched thin, were unable to stand against the growing darkness. As the galaxy's last hope seemed to vanish, leaders from every corner of the galaxy gathered in a grand council hall, desperate for a solution, but none had an answer. The leaders sat in silence, their faces filled with doubt and fear. The once proud and united galaxy now seemed fragmented and defeated. Ships from every race sat idly by, unsure whether to retreat or fight, each leader questioning whether they had the strength to continue. Alien races, some peaceful and others more aggressive, had all tried and failed to stop the invasion that seemed to consume everything in its path. The very essence of their existence was at stake. How could they ever hope to overcome a force so powerful that it tore apart their fleets, their cities, and their very lives? It was in this moment of silence, as the leaders of the galaxy continued to argue among themselves, that a strange signal began to pulse on their screens. At first, it was weak, almost imperceptible, a mere flicker on the edge of their communication channels. Most ignored it, assuming it was just another glitch, another false hope that would lead to nothing. But as the signal grew louder, clearer, a cold shiver ran down their spines. Someone in the council room noticed it first, a lone figure staring at a flickering screen, face drawn with exhaustion and disbelief. "There's something there," the officer said, voice trembling. It's a signal." The leaders looked up, some confused, others skeptical. Who would be trying to contact them at this moment? With their defenses falling apart and the galaxy on the brink of destruction, who could possibly send a message worth listening to? The officer worked quickly, enhancing the signal, trying to decipher the faint words that echoed through the static. It was a short message, but its implications were far-reaching. "SOS, Earth. We offer our help. Please respond." A stunned silence filled the room. Earth, the small, forgotten planet in the distant corner of the galaxy. It was a planet of humans, barely even known to most alien races. The human race had once been considered insignificant, isolated from the galactic powers, struggling to survive on their own world. No one had taken them seriously. Even as the galaxy's empires expanded across the stars, Earth had remained out of sight, almost like a forgotten relic. And yet here it was. Earth, sending out a desperate call for help. The message was almost absurd in its audacity. How could a small, isolated planet like Earth offer anything to help the galaxy? The alien fleets were mighty, the forces they were up against overwhelming. Earth had nothing to give. No advanced technology, no vast armies or fleets of warships. What could they possibly offer in this galactic crisis? It didn't make sense. But the message kept repeating. Over and over, the same words, growing clearer and louder as Earth's signal reached further out into the galaxy. "SOS, Earth. We offer our help. Please respond." Some of the leaders laughed at the absurdity of it all. Earth? What could they possibly do? They're insignificant. How could they possibly help us? Others, however, looked on with something more than skepticism. Could there be more to this than they realized? Maybe, just maybe, this message wasn't a trick. Maybe it was something more than a desperate cry from a doomed planet. But the question lingered. How could Earth, how could humanity, offer anything to turn the tide of this galactic disaster? As the signal continued, some of the leaders grew uncomfortable with the notion that this small, seemingly insignificant planet might be the only one left willing to act. The rest of the galaxy had given up. The alien empires were in shambles, their greatest fleets scattered, their defenses torn apart by an enemy none of them understood. But here, on Earth, there was a spark, a possibility. But could it be real? "We must investigate," one leader said, his voice steady despite the uncertainty. "Earth may be our last hope." The council hesitated. How could they take this seriously? Was it a trap? Could Earth even be trusted? Some voices in the room raised doubts, suggesting that the humans were simply desperate. Others, however, insisted that they couldn't ignore the signal. What if Earth did have something to offer after all? What if this message was the galaxy's final chance? The leaders made their decision. A small fleet of ships would be dispatched to Earth to investigate the message, to see if there was anything of value in what they claimed. But deep down, they all knew that they were clinging to hope that was little more than a fading star in a black sky. What could Earth possibly do to save them? The galaxy's fate seemed sealed, and their decision to investigate Earth seemed more like a formality than a real chance for salvation. The fleet left, moving through space toward Earth's distant system, its leaders unsure of what they would find. They all expected failure. They all expected to return with nothing. After all, how could humanity possibly stand up to the galactic might that had already fallen to their enemy? As the ships flew toward Earth, the leaders back in the council room continued their debates. They questioned what would happen if the message were real, if humanity could actually offer something of value. But most couldn't imagine it. The galaxy's greatest minds had been defeated, and they couldn't fathom how a small, isolated planet could make any difference. And yet, the message from Earth kept echoing in their minds. It was simple. It was clear. It was their last hope. Back on Earth, humanity was preparing, though they didn't fully understand the weight of their message. Earth had long been overlooked by the galaxy, treated as nothing more than a speck in the vast expanse of space. But now, as the fleet from the galaxy's council approached, humanity was ready to prove that even the smallest spark could ignite a fire that would burn through the stars. As the council's fleet neared Earth, the question remained: could Earth be the galaxy's salvation? Or was this just another false hope that would fade into nothingness? The galaxy waited for the answer, their fate hanging on the response from Earth, a planet the galaxy had long ignored. And so, the story began: Earth's call for help, the galaxy's doubt, and the beginning of a new chapter in the struggle for survival. Would humanity's message be answered? Or would it be swallowed by the silence of space? Only time would tell. The alien fleet, an armada of warships from the most powerful empires in the galaxy, neared Earth's solar system with uncertainty in their hearts. They had been given orders to investigate the strange signal from Earth. But even as they neared their destination, doubt lingered. Earth had always been nothing more than a forgotten, isolated planet on the fringe of the galaxy. Its population was primitive, unimportant in the grand scale of galactic affairs. The idea that Earth might hold the key to their survival seemed laughable. Yet, the message from Earth had been persistent. And it was undeniable: Earth was offering help. But what kind of help could they provide? The leaders of the galaxy had dismissed the message, assuming it was a desperate plea from a doomed world. Still, a small group of leaders, those who had known Earth better than most, insisted that they couldn't ignore it. They had seen Earth's resilience, and they had seen the strength of humanity in battle. Perhaps, just perhaps, they had underestimated them. The fleet entered the outer reaches of Earth's atmosphere, and the alien vessels grew still. What would they find when they arrived? Would it be a trap? A trick? Or was there something to this bold claim? A few of the fleet commanders, skeptical and wary, wanted to turn back, to return to their forces and leave Earth to its fate. But others, more curious, demanded to know more. Could humanity really offer a solution? As they approached, the fleet's sensors scanned the planet below. They saw a small, seemingly insignificant world, surrounded by nothing but stars and empty space. Earth's defenses were non-existent. No massive fleets, no space stations, no signs of advanced weaponry. It was just a planet, much like any other in the galaxy. But that's what made it even more curious. Why would a planet like this dare to send out a signal, promising help that no one expected? Then, as the alien ships moved closer, something unexpected happened. A massive structure appeared on the radar, hidden just beyond Earth's atmosphere. The fleet commanders were baffled. They had scanned Earth and found nothing. So where had this come from? The structure was enormous, far larger than any ship they had ever seen, and its design was unlike anything the galaxy had ever produced. It was a warship, but not just any warship. It was sleek, powerful, and ancient-looking. It had been hidden from all senses, undetectable by the most advanced technology. The Vindictus had been waiting in the shadows, prepared for this very moment. The alien fleet hesitated, confusion turning into alarm. They had expected to find a planet in despair, a species on the brink of destruction. Instead, they had stumbled upon something they couldn't understand, a weapon of unimaginable power, lying in wait. The fleet commanders quickly realized that Earth's plea for help hadn't been a lie. But what were they dealing with? Were they about to be attacked by a weapon they could never hope to defeat? Suddenly, the Vindictus came to life, its massive engines roaring to life with a sound that rattled through space itself. The warship's weapons systems powered up, and its massive frame moved with terrifying grace. The fleet watched in awe as the ship, still hidden in the depths of space, began to ascend toward them. It was slow at first, as though it were testing its limits, but with every passing second, it gathered speed, growing closer and closer. The alien commanders quickly realized that this wasn't just any warship. The Vindictus wasn't just a show of power, it was a message. It was humanity's answer to the galaxy's collapse. It was a symbol of defiance, a statement that no one, no alien empire, would ever be allowed to dictate the fate of Earth again. As the fleet hovered in disbelief, the message they had received from Earth finally made sense. This wasn't a plea for help, it was a declaration. Humanity wasn't asking for anything. They weren't begging for mercy. They were offering their assistance, yes, but only under one condition. The galaxy must stand aside. Earth had no intention of being a passive victim anymore. The Vindictus broke through the cloud cover, and the alien fleet saw it in all its glory. Its sleek, dark hull glistened under the light of distant stars, and the warship's weapons glowed with the promise of destruction. There was no denying it. The Vindictus was something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. And in that moment, the alien fleets understood what humanity was capable of. On board the Vindictus, the human crew watched as the alien ships scrambled to respond. But it was too late. The Vindictus was faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything the galaxy had to offer. The human crew knew they had no time to waste. Earth's message had been sent, and now it was up to them to ensure the galaxy understood it. The fleet commanders, who had once laughed at the idea of humanity offering anything of value, now stared at their screens in silence. The Vindictus was no longer just a ship. It was the beginning of humanity's rise. Earth had kept its power hidden, but now, the galaxy would learn what happened when a species had nothing left to lose. The alien fleet commanders ordered their ships to form up in a defensive position, but deep down, they knew it wouldn't be enough. The Vindictus was already in motion, and the time for negotiation had long passed. Humanity had made its mark on the galaxy, and the galaxy would never forget it. The fleet had no choice but to prepare for what was coming. They had underestimated humanity once, and now they would pay the price. As the Vindictus soared through space, its weapons ready to strike, the fleet knew one thing for certain. Earth had just become the most dangerous player in the galaxy as the Vindictus sailed through space, its presence undeniable and its power unimaginable. The alien fleets scrambled to position themselves, unsure of how to face such an advanced threat. The vastness of the galaxy had always given them confidence, allowing them to conquer worlds and expand their empires without fear of retaliation. But that confidence shattered in an instant. Earth, a small, isolated planet they had long ignored, had now become the greatest force in the galaxy. The fleet commanders, still reeling from the shock of seeing the Vindictus, held urgent meetings in their command ships. The question on everyone's mind was the same. How had Earth created such a warship? No one in the galaxy had technology even close to the Vindictus's power, and yet here it was, looming over them. There were whispers of ancient, forbidden technologies, of alliances with mysterious forces that humanity had kept hidden for centuries. But none of that mattered now. The Vindictus was real, and it was heading straight for them. The alien forces were divided. Some were eager to attack, believing that they could still destroy the Vindictus before it caused any more damage. Others, more cautious, wanted to wait, unsure of what exactly they were up against. But in the end, all of them understood one thing. The Vindictus wasn't just a ship. It was humanity's message, its declaration of war, its promise to the galaxy that Earth would no longer be a passive bystander. The galaxy had made its mistakes, and now humanity was ready to correct them. On the bridge of the Vindictus, Captain Eliza Grant stood at the helm, her face calm but resolute. She knew that this was more than just a mission. It was the first step in reclaiming humanity's place in the galaxy. The message Earth had sent out wasn't just a plea for help. It was an invitation to the galaxy to witness humanity's strength. And now, with the Vindictus leading the charge, Earth's enemies would learn that underestimating them had been a fatal mistake. "Prepare for battle," Captain Grant ordered. "We'll make sure the galaxy knows Earth will not bow to anyone." The crew of the Vindictus responded without hesitation, each member of the team knowing their role. The ship's powerful weapons systems came online, the hum of energy building as the reactors surged to full power. Every turret, every missile pod, every defensive system was ready to unleash hell upon the alien fleets that had once thought of Earth as nothing more than an insignificant dot on the map. As the alien ships took formation, Captain Grant studied their movements, her sharp eyes analyzing every detail. The enemy was trying to surround the Vindictus, to trap it in a pincer maneuver, but they were too slow. The Vindictus wasn't like anything they had ever faced. It wasn't just a warship, it was a symbol of humanity's will to survive, and it moved with a precision and speed that none of the alien forces could match. "Lock onto the lead ship," Captain Grant ordered, her voice steady. "Target their weapons systems first. We need to make sure they know we're not backing down." The Vindictus fired its first shot, a beam of energy so powerful that it tore through the hull of the lead alien ship, disintegrating it in seconds. The alien fleet responded, launching a barrage of missiles and laser fire, but the Vindictus was already moving. Its defensive systems activated in a blur, intercepting the incoming fire and redirecting it back at the enemy ships. The alien fleet's coordination faltered. They had never expected such a counterattack. They had thought humanity weak, but now they saw the truth. Humanity had come prepared. One by one, the alien ships fell before the Vindictus. Their weapons were ineffective against the ship's advanced shields, and their attempts to swarm the warship only ended in destruction. The Vindictus moved effortlessly through space, its weapons flashing with deadly precision as it cut through the enemy fleet like a blade through butter. "Keep pushing forward," Captain Grant said, her voice unwavering. "We can't let them regroup." The battle raged on, but it was clear that the tide had already turned. The alien fleets were no match for the might of the Vindictus. With every passing minute, more ships fell, and the galaxy's once proud empires began to realize the true cost of underestimating humanity. Meanwhile, the leaders of the alien council watched from their command centers, their faces pale as they witnessed the destruction unfolding before them. They had sent their best fleets to stop Earth, believing that humanity was no threat. Now, they were witnessing the consequences of their ignorance. The Vindictus wasn't just a ship, it was the embodiment of everything the galaxy had failed to see. Humanity's resolve, their strength, their determination. And they had made one fatal mistake. They had underestimated them. As the battle neared its climax, Captain Grant stood tall, her gaze never leaving the screen before her. "This is just the beginning," she said, more to herself than to anyone else. "The galaxy will know our name." The Vindictus fired one final, devastating shot, and with that, the last of the alien ships was destroyed. The once great fleets of the galaxy lay in ruins, their commanders in shock. The Vindictus hovered above the battlefield, its engines glowing with a fierce, unstoppable energy. And in that moment, humanity proved what they had always known. They were no longer the galaxy's forgotten corner. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy would never forget the name of Earth. The silence that followed the final explosion was deafening. The alien fleets, once vast and powerful, were now reduced to scattered debris drifting through the void. The Vindictus hovered alone in the aftermath, its massive frame gleaming under the light of distant stars. Its weapons were silent, the energy from its reactors fading into a hum as the ship stood victorious. The battle was over, but the consequences of this victory rippled across the galaxy. On the bridge of the Vindictus, Captain Eliza Grant stood still, her eyes scanning the battlefield. Her crew worked quickly, checking systems and ensuring that the ship was intact. But it wasn't just the ship that needed attention. It was the message that had been sent. Earth had fought, and they had won. But this was just the beginning. The galaxy had been forever changed by what had transpired. "Captain," said Lieutenant Miller, his voice tight with excitement, "the alien fleet commanders are calling for a ceasefire. They're demanding to know what we want." Captain Grant looked at the communications screen, her face calm, but inside, she felt a surge of satisfaction. The alien forces had been so certain of their superiority, so certain that humanity was weak, that now, faced with their own annihilation, they were begging for mercy. They had come to Earth expecting to crush it, but instead, they had learned the hard way that humanity wasn't something to be ignored. "Put them through," she said, her voice steady. The screen flickered, and the image of an alien commander appeared. He was an imposing figure, his dark skin marked with intricate tattoos, his eyes filled with disbelief. His fleet had been defeated in a matter of hours. And now, as he stood in the shadow of humanity's might, he was forced to face the consequences of his people's arrogance. "Human," the alien commander began, his voice cold but respectful, "you have won this battle. But you are outnumbered. You cannot hope to defeat the entire galaxy. What is it that you want? Name your terms." Captain Grant's gaze never wavered. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and now they would pay the price. She leaned forward slightly, her voice calm but filled with authority. "We want one thing," she said, her words cutting through the tension in the room. "We want the galaxy to understand that humanity is no longer a passive player. We will not be ignored. Earth will stand as an equal among the stars, and we will fight anyone who tries to take that away." The alien commander's face twisted in disbelief, but Grant continued, her eyes hardening. "Your fleets are gone. Your alliance is shattered. Earth is not the weak planet you once thought it was. And we will make sure the galaxy never forgets it." For a moment, the alien commander said nothing, his eyes narrowing as if he were calculating his options. But it was clear that the situation had changed. The galaxy was no longer dominated by the powerful alien empires. It was now a place where Earth had carved out its own destiny. "You speak of strength," the commander said finally, "but strength alone will not hold the galaxy together. If you truly believe humanity can stand alone, then you will find yourselves in conflict with every power that exists." "We're not afraid of conflict," Captain Grant replied. "We've fought for our survival, and will fight to protect our future." The alien commander remained silent for a long moment, before finally nodding. It was clear that the galaxy's once unstoppable empires had been humbled, forced to acknowledge the power of a race they had long considered insignificant. The warship Vindictus had shown them that humanity had more than just willpower. It had the strength to back up its defiance. The communication ended, and the bridge of the Vindictus was once again filled with the hum of activity as the crew began their next phase of preparations. The Vindictus had emerged victorious, but now, Captain Grant knew, the real challenge was just beginning. The galaxy was vast, and many would resist humanity's rise. But that was something they would face together, as a united force. "Set course for the nearest system," she ordered. "It's time to show the galaxy what Earth can do." The crew moved quickly, carrying out her orders without hesitation. But Captain Grant's thoughts were elsewhere. She had known Earth's potential for years, had seen the resilience of her people when faced with overwhelming odds. But now, the galaxy would see it, too. The Vindictus was a symbol, a shining example of humanity's strength, and the galaxy would learn that Earth would no longer be overlooked. In the distance, beyond the wreckage of the alien fleets, the stars seemed to burn a little brighter. For the first time in a long while, the future seemed full of possibility. The fight for Earth had only just begun, and Captain Grant knew one thing for certain. Humanity would never be the same again. As the Vindictus moved deeper into the galaxy, its weapons and defenses fully prepared, a new chapter in the history of the universe was being written. And Earth would play a central role in it. The alien fleets may have been defeated, but the galaxy was far from done with humanity. And neither was humanity done with the galaxy. It was a new era, one that would be defined by strength, defiance, and the rise of a power that had once been forgotten. The Vindictus drifted through the quiet expanse of space, its engines humming softly as the vast emptiness surrounded it. Captain Eliza Grant stood on the bridge, gazing out at the stars that now seemed so different, so full of potential. The battle was over, but the war for Earth's future had only just begun. The alien fleets had been scattered, their once mighty forces reduced to rubble, but that didn't mean the galaxy would simply accept humanity's rise to power. The galaxy's most influential empires would not surrender their control without a fight. Captain Grant's eyes narrowed as she observed the new course plotted on the ship's navigational map. They were heading towards the heart of galactic space, where the greatest powers of the galaxy held sway. If humanity was to truly claim its place, they would have to face the full force of the galaxy's empires, forces that would not hesitate to crush Earth if given the chance. Captain, Lieutenant Miller's voice broke through her thoughts. We've received a transmission from the Central Command of the Galactic Council. They want to speak with you. Grant turned, her expression unreadable. The Galactic Council had always been the governing body of the galaxy, and its members were the most powerful beings in the known universe. They controlled vast fleets, advanced technologies, and a network of political power that spanned the stars. But after the events of the last few days, it was clear that Earth was no longer beneath them. They had never expected humanity to be capable of such strength, and now they had to reckon with it. Put them through, Grant said, her voice steady. Let's see what they have to say. The screen flickered to life, and the image of a tall, imposing alien appeared. His skin was dark blue, his eyes sharp and calculating, and his body adorned with intricate armor that seemed to radiate power. This was Commander Tharek, one of the highest-ranking members of the Galactic Council. His expression was unreadable, but there was no mistaking the air of authority he carried with him. He had once believed Earth to be inconsequential, a weak planet on the fringes of the galaxy. Now, it was clear that his entire worldview had been shattered. Captain Grant, Tharek said, his voice deep and measured, I believe we both know why we're speaking today. Earth's actions have changed the balance of power in this galaxy. The Vindictus has proven that humanity is no longer a race to be ignored. The question now is, what is it you want? Grant leaned forward in her chair, meeting Tharek's gaze with a calmness that spoke volumes. She had no intention of letting the Council dictate humanity's future. We want recognition, she said, her voice firm. We want Earth to be treated as an equal among the galaxy's powers, not as an afterthought. We have proven our strength, and now we demand respect. Tharek's eyes narrowed slightly. You speak of respect, but the galaxy is not some playground for every race to claim its place. There are established powers here, alliances that have stood for millennia. Your victory over our fleets doesn't change the fact that you are still just one planet. You are still outnumbered, and the galaxy will not simply bow to your demands. Grant stood up, her presence commanding attention. Then we will make them bow, she said coldly. If the galaxy is unwilling to recognize Earth's place, then we will make them understand. We have no intention of going back into the shadows. If you want to continue this conflict, we are ready. Tharek's expression hardened, but there was a flicker of something, perhaps respect, perhaps fear, in his eyes. You are playing a dangerous game, Captain. The galaxy will not forgive your arrogance. There are those who will see your actions as a declaration of war. Then let them come, Grant replied, her voice unwavering. We have proven ourselves once. We will prove ourselves again. And this time, we won't be fighting for survival. We'll be fighting for our place in this galaxy. The transmission ended abruptly, and the screen went dark. Captain Grant exhaled slowly, her mind racing with the weight of the decision she had just made. The Galactic Council had been given a warning, but it was clear they wouldn't take it lightly. The alien powers would likely unite in an attempt to crush humanity's newfound strength, to remind Earth that they were still insignificant in the grand scheme of the galaxy. But Grant knew one thing: humanity had nothing to lose. And sometimes, that was the most dangerous thing of all. Captain, Lieutenant Miller said, breaking the silence, the fleet is ready. We've had reports of several alien factions beginning to rally near the core systems. It looks like they're preparing for retaliation. Grant nodded, her face set in determination. Let them prepare. We've waited too long to be treated as equals. It's time to show the galaxy that humanity isn't just a survivor, it's a force to be reckoned with. The Vindictus surged forward, its massive engines propelling it toward the heart of the galaxy. Every member of the crew, from the officers on the bridge to the soldiers in the lower decks, knew what was at stake. The war for Earth's future had only just begun, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity would never be silenced again. The first steps had been taken, and there was no turning back. The Vindictus would lead the charge, and Earth would fight for its place among the stars. No longer would they be the underdogs. No longer would they be ignored. Earth was coming to claim its rightful place in the galaxy, and nothing would stand in their way. The Vindictus moved swiftly through space, its hull gleaming like a beacon in the vast emptiness. The mission ahead was clear, but the weight of the galaxy's response loomed large. Captain Eliza Grant stood at the helm, her fingers tapping the console as her mind raced. They were heading into the heart of galactic space, where the most powerful empires of the galaxy held sway. But Earth was no longer the weak, isolated planet it had once been. They had proven their strength, and now it was time to show the galaxy that humanity wasn't just a force to be reckoned with. It was a new power in the galaxy. Captain, Lieutenant Miller's voice broke through her thoughts. We're approaching the core systems. Multiple enemy ships detected in our path. Grant's eyes narrowed. I expected as much. Prepare for engagement. All hands on deck. The crew moved quickly, their actions swift and efficient. The Vindictus's weapons systems powered up, the hum of energy building as its reactors surged to life. Earth had sent a message, and now the galaxy would receive the consequences. The fleets of the galaxy had underestimated humanity, and the time for diplomacy had passed. It was no longer about asking for a place among the stars. It was about taking that place by force, if necessary. Captain, reported the tactical officer, the enemy fleet is large, over a dozen ships. They're forming a blockade. They're preparing to engage. Grant turned to face the screen, her gaze locked on the formation of alien warships. These were the strongest fleets in the galaxy, the empires that had dominated for millennia. But now, they faced Earth's Vindictus, the symbol of humanity's power. How many of them are warships? She asked, her voice cold. 7, Captain. The rest are support vessels and reconnaissance ships. Grant's lips curled into a small, confident smile. 7 warships. Against the Vindictus, against humanity's newfound strength. Take out the lead warship first. We don't give them time to regroup. The Vindictus surged forward, its engines roaring with power. The alien fleet fired first, their weapons lashing out in a coordinated barrage. But the Vindictus was ready. Its defensive shields flared to life, the incoming fire splintering against the energy field as the ship maneuvered expertly through the firestorm. All weapons systems online, the weapons officer announced. Targeting lead ship. Grant nodded, her mind focused. The alien fleets were fast, but the Vindictus was faster. Their tactics may have been advanced, but Earth's technology had evolved far beyond their expectations. Humanity had been forced to survive against the odds, and that had made them resourceful. Now, Earth would show the galaxy that they were more than capable of standing toe-to-toe with the greatest powers in the universe. The Vindictus unleashed a volley of energy blasts, its weapons finding their mark on the lead alien warship. The first shot tore through the hull, its massive energy beam splitting the ship in half. The remaining enemy ships hesitated, shocked by the sudden, devastating assault. But Grant didn't give them time to regroup. Full speed ahead, she commanded. We take them down, one by one. The Vindictus surged forward, a force of nature unstoppable in its course. The alien ships tried to retaliate, launching their own volleys of energy weapons, but it was no use. The Vindictus dodged and weaved, its weapons firing with deadly accuracy as it cut through the alien fleet. The lead ship was gone, and the others fell in quick succession, unable to defend themselves against humanity's might. Captain, Lieutenant Miller said, his voice tense, we've taken down the first 4 ships. The remaining vessels are retreating. Don't let them escape, Grant ordered. Finish them off. The remaining alien ships were desperate now, but it was too late. They had underestimated humanity's resolve, and now they were paying the price. The Vindictus was a symbol of Earth's determination, a force that couldn't be stopped. With one final shot, the last of the alien warships exploded in a burst of light, its wreckage floating in space. The battlefield was quiet, save for the distant hum of the Vindictus as it hovered above the remains of the enemy fleet. "We've won, Captain," the tactical officer reported. "The galaxy's most powerful fleets are no more. The remaining forces are retreating, scattered and leaderless." Grant nodded slowly, her gaze drifting to the stars beyond. This victory was only the beginning. The galaxy will know that Earth is not to be trifled with. But the true challenge has just begun. "Sir," Miller said, a hint of uncertainty in his voice, "what happens now? The Council is gone. The alien fleets are shattered. What do we do next?" Grant turned to face him, her eyes hardening with resolve. "We take the fight to the core of the galaxy. We make it clear that Earth will not be pushed aside anymore. We'll negotiate from a position of power, and if they resist, if they refuse to recognize our place among the stars, then we fight again. Humanity has never backed down before. We won't start now." The Vindictus powered forward once again, its course set for the heart of galactic power. Earth had sent its message, and the galaxy had no choice but to listen. The once great alien empires had been brought to their knees, and humanity had risen from the shadows to claim its rightful place. But Grant knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy would not accept this change easily. There would be more battles ahead. But as the Vindictus sailed onward, its weapons at the ready, Captain Grant knew one thing for certain. Humanity would never be silenced again. "Set course for the Galactic Council," Grant ordered. "We have a message to deliver." And with that, the Vindictus surged deeper into the galaxy, ready to face whatever challenge lay ahead. The galaxy had thought humanity weak. Now, it would learn the truth. The Vindictus sailed toward the heart of galactic power, its massive hull cutting through space like a predator on the hunt. Captain Eliza Grant stood tall on the bridge, her mind focused on the journey ahead. The alien fleets had been defeated, their empires shattered. But that was only the first step. Now, the true test of humanity's strength was about to begin. The Galactic Council, the very heart of galactic politics, awaited. They would have no choice but to hear Earth's demands. "We're entering the core systems, Captain," Lieutenant Miller's voice broke through Grant's thoughts. "The Galactic Council's flagship is ahead. We're being hailed." Grant's gaze turned toward the communication screen, where the image of the Council's flagship appeared. It was a massive vessel, its sleek design adorned with symbols of power and dominance. The Galactic Council had once been the ultimate authority in the galaxy, a collective of the most powerful alien races. But now, with Earth's might on full display, everything was about to change. "Put them through," Grant ordered, her voice calm but filled with purpose. The screen flickered, and the face of a tall, silver-skinned alien appeared. His features were sharp, his eyes cold and calculating. He was no ordinary council member. He was one of the most influential figures in the galaxy. This was Tharek, the same commander who had spoken to Grant after the first victory. The one who had once dismissed humanity as insignificant. But now, after Earth's decisive strike, he understood the true cost of that mistake. "Captain Grant," Tharek began, his voice laced with tension. "You've made your point. You've destroyed our fleets, defeated our forces, and humiliated the greatest powers in the galaxy. But you cannot expect the Council to bow to your demands. You may have proven your strength, but we are not a people who can be intimidated." Grant met his gaze without flinching. "Intimidation isn't why we're here," she said, her voice steady. "We are here to claim what's ours. Earth will no longer be treated as a backwater planet. We are no longer asking for a seat at the table. We are taking it." Tharek's eyes narrowed, but there was no longer any trace of the arrogance he had once displayed. "You speak of power," he said, his tone colder than ever. "But you forget, Captain, that the galaxy is vast. The Council's reach extends beyond what you can even imagine. And there are others who will never accept your rise. We're not asking for permission, Grant replied, her voice sharp. You've had centuries to rule the galaxy, to manipulate its people, to keep Earth in the shadows. But those days are over. Humanity has risen, and we will stand as equals among the stars. If you can't accept that, then we will force you to. Tharic hesitated, his expression wavering for a brief moment before he regained his composure. You are bold, Captain, he said, his voice low. But I warn you, there are consequences to challenging the Council. There are those in this galaxy who will not sit idly by while you carve your own path. Earth will not be the only target. You will bring war to your doorstep. We've been at war since the day Earth was born, Grant said, her voice unwavering. But this time, we're not just fighting for survival. We're fighting for our place in the galaxy. And we'll win. Tharic's expression darkened, but there was a flicker of something else in his eyes, an understanding of the new reality. He had thought humanity weak, a species destined to be crushed by the galaxy's superior powers. But now, he saw the truth. The Vindictus had torn through his fleets with ease, and Earth had proven that it would no longer be a pawn in the galaxy's endless wars. The transmission ended, and the screen returned to the cold, empty void of space. For a moment, the bridge of the Vindictus was silent. The crew knew the gravity of what had just happened. Earth had sent its message, and the galaxy had no choice but to hear it. The battle for Earth's place among the stars had only just begun, and the Vindictus was the spearhead of that fight. Captain, Miller said, his voice tinged with uncertainty. What happens now? The Council's response was, not what we expected. Grant turned to face him, her expression hardening with resolve. Now, we wait. The Council will rally their forces, but they will not risk an all-out war just yet. They're calculating, trying to figure out what to do next. But Earth will not back down. We'll push forward, one system at a time. The galaxy will understand our message. Humanity is not a species to be ignored. We're not asking for peace, Lieutenant. We're demanding it. The crew of the Vindictus knew that the next phase of their mission would be even more dangerous than the last. The Vindictus had shattered the alien fleets, but the true battle lay ahead. The galaxy's empires would not simply fold, they would resist. There would be skirmishes, betrayals, and fierce conflicts. But Captain Grant was determined to lead humanity into a new era, one where Earth was no longer a forgotten planet on the edge of the galaxy. Set course for the next system, she ordered, her voice resolute. We're not done yet. The galaxy will remember Earth's name, and it will remember our strength. As the Vindictus surged forward into the unknown, the stars ahead seemed brighter, filled with promise. Humanity had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The path was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Earth had proven its strength. And now, the galaxy had to deal with the consequences. The Vindictus glided through space, a symbol of humanity's resolve and newfound power. Its massive engines thrummed steadily, propelling it deeper into the heart of galactic space. The silence aboard the ship was palpable, as every crew member knew the importance of what lay ahead. Earth had sent its message loud and clear, but now came the hardest part, facing the full weight of the galaxy's response. Captain Eliza Grant stood on the bridge, her eyes focused on the stars beyond, her thoughts heavy with the weight of what had already transpired. The Vindictus had crushed the alien fleets, dismantling their might in hours. Yet, as powerful as they were, those fleets were only the beginning. The real challenge lay ahead, convincing the galaxy's ruling empires that humanity was a force that could no longer be ignored. Captain, Lieutenant Miller spoke up, breaking her concentration. We're approaching the next system. Several ships from the Draxian Empire have been detected in the vicinity. They are preparing to intercept us. Grant turned slowly to face him, her expression calm. The Draxians, she muttered, as if the name itself carried weight. They are one of the most aggressive empires in the galaxy. They've fought countless wars, and their fleet is one of the largest in the galaxy. They'll be a formidable challenge. "Do we engage, Captain?" Miller asked, his voice tense. Grant's gaze flickered to the tactical map. The Draxian ships were massive, their designs built for power and intimidation. But they were no match for the Vindictus. "We engage," she said firmly. "But we show them we're not looking for another fight. We'll make sure they understand that Earth isn't afraid." The command went out, and the Vindictus adjusted its course. The ship's weapons powered up, its defensive shields flickering into place. The Draxian ships, massive and imposing, moved into position ahead, their weapons already targeting the Vindictus. But Captain Grant wasn't worried. They had faced greater challenges, and humanity had always found a way to overcome them. "Captain, the Draxians are hailing us," Lieutenant Miller reported. "They're demanding an immediate ceasefire. They want to know why we're in their space." Grant's lips curved into a slight, knowing smile. "Put them through." The screen flickered to life, revealing the image of a tall, armored Draxian commander. His face was cold and unyielding, his eyes filled with the typical arrogance of the galaxy's elite. The Draxians had always seen themselves as the dominant race, and they weren't used to being challenged. But today, they were facing humanity's might. "Human," the Draxian commander said, his voice gruff, "you are in Draxian space. You have no business here. Turn back, or we will destroy you." Grant stood tall, her voice unwavering. "We're not here to negotiate, Commander," she said. "We're here to claim our place among the stars. Earth will not be pushed aside any longer." The commander's eyes flickered with a brief flash of surprise, but he quickly regained his composure. "You have proven your strength by destroying our enemies," he said, "but that does not give you the right to challenge us. The Draxian Empire will not bow to any race, especially not one as insignificant as Earth." Grant's eyes darkened with resolve. "Earth is no longer insignificant, Commander. We have proven ourselves. And if you wish to continue this war, we will fight you. But know this, humanity fights not just for survival anymore. We fight for our place in this galaxy, and we will not be denied." The Draxian commander's expression hardened. "So be it, human," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "If you insist on this path, we will crush you as we have crushed every other race that has dared to stand in our way." The transmission ended abruptly, and the screen flickered back to the cold emptiness of space. Captain Grant stood still for a moment, her hands clasped behind her back. She could feel the tension in the air, the weight of the moment. The Draxians were formidable, their ships strong and their resolve unyielding. But Earth had something they didn't have, the will to fight, to survive, and to thrive. "All hands, prepare for battle," Grant ordered. "We won't back down. We fight not just for Earth, but for the galaxy's future." The Vindictus surged forward, its massive guns primed and ready. The Draxian fleet moved into position, their ships circling the Vindictus, ready to strike. But Grant wasn't worried. The Vindictus wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol of everything humanity had endured, a testament to the resilience and strength that had carried them through every trial. "Fire at will!" Grant shouted, and the Vindictus unleashed its fury upon the Draxian ships. Energy beams lashed out, striking the nearest ship with deadly precision. The Draxians retaliated, their own weapons firing in return. The Vindictus dodged and weaved, its shields absorbing the incoming fire as its weapons continued their relentless assault. The battle raged on, the Vindictus cutting through the Draxian fleet with brutal efficiency. The Draxians had underestimated humanity's power, and now they were paying the price. One by one, their ships were torn apart, their weapons ineffective against the Vindictus's superior technology and firepower. Within minutes, the Draxian fleet was in ruins, their ships either destroyed or retreating in disarray. The Vindictus stood victorious once again, its weapons silent but its message loud and clear. Humanity was here to stay. Grant surveyed the battlefield, her expression unwavering. "This is only the beginning," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. "The galaxy has seen our strength. And now, they will understand that Earth will no longer be ignored." The Vindictus turned away from the wreckage, its engines powering up as it moved toward its next destination. The galaxy's most powerful forces had fallen before humanity, but the war was far from over. More challenges lay ahead, but Captain Grant was ready. Earth was no longer a bystander in the galaxy. It was a force that would reshape the stars. And with every victory, humanity's place among the stars became more secure.